Hello everyone. Today we will learn quadratic equations and this is for class 10. Now the question is, what is called a quadratic equation? The quadratic equation is the equation of the form ax square plus bx plus c equals to 0 is called a quadratic equation if a is not equals to 0. Here a, b, c are called the coefficients and they all belongs to the real numbers, and x is called the variable. So therefore this is called a quadratic equation in variable x. Hence the general form of the quadratic equation is ax square plus bx plus c equals to 0, where a should not be equals to 0. That is very important. Otherwise the term of x square will become 0 and the equation will convert it to a linear equation. It will be no more a quadratic equation. Let us see some examples. Here we have the first example, x square plus x plus 2 equals to 0. Here the coefficients of x square, x and the constant term will be 1, 1 and 2 respectively. That is, the value of a, b and c will be 1, 1 and 2. Now this is the second example. Here the quadratic equation is x square minus 3 equals to 0. Here the value of a is 1. Now since the variable x, the term x is not there, the term of x is not there, that is why the coefficient of that term will become 0. That is, the value of b will be 0 and the constant term is minus 3. Now in this example of 3x square minus 5x equals to 0, here the value of a will be 3, the value of b will be minus 5 since the coefficient is negative. So if there is a negative sign, we need to include that negative sign with the coefficient. And since there is no constant term, so c is equals to 0. We need to remember one thing, though the value of a should not be equals to 0, but there is no restriction on b and c. So the value of b and c can be 0. They can be, both value can be 0 or either one can be 0. Now let us find out what is called root of a quadratic equation. So a number alpha is said to be the root or the solution of the quadratic equation of the form ax square plus bx plus c equals to 0 if the number alpha satisfies the equation. That is, even only if a into alpha square plus b into alpha plus c becomes 0. For example, suppose we have this quadratic equation, that is x square minus 5x minus 6 equals to 0. Now if we put the value of x as 1, we can see that 1 is not satisfying the equation. That is, if we replace all the values of x by 1, then the expression on the left hand side is not coming 0. So therefore 1 is not the solution or not the root of this equation. But now if I put minus 1, then let's see what happened. Now if I put x equals to minus 1, we will replace all x by minus 1. So the expression on the left hand side will become 1 plus 5 minus 6, which is giving equals to 0. So that means minus 1, the value, is satisfying the given equation x square minus 5x minus 6 equals to 0. So therefore minus 1 is a root of this equation. So we can see that 1 is not a root, but minus 1 is a root. Now the question is there any other root? The answer is yes. Now if we put x equals to 6, then 6 square minus 5 into 6 minus 6 will become 0. So therefore x equals to 6 is another root of this equation. Now the question is there any method to find out the roots of this equation? So for solving the quadratic equation mathematically, we need two methods. One is called factorization method, or rather I must say middle term factorization method, and the other one is using formula. We also call this formula as Sridhar-Acharya formula. There is one more method that is known as completing the square method, but we generally don't use this method to solve quadratic equation. Generally we use the first two, either by middle term factorization or by Sridhar-Acharya formula. So today in this video, I will tell you about the factorization method and will show you the solution of some interesting questions by using factorization method. And at the end, I will show you one example on computing the square method. We all know about middle term factorization method. Here in this example, ax square plus bx plus c equals to 0. We need to write b as a sum of two numbers d1 and d2 such that d1 into d2 equals to ac. Now let us see one simple example, then we will move to some interesting questions. So x square minus 5x plus 6 equals to 0. Here a is equals to 1, b equals to minus 5 and c is equals to 6. So therefore ac will be equals to 1 into 6, that is 6. Now let b can be written as a sum of two numbers. One is minus 2 and the other one is minus 3. Then then minus 2 into minus 3 will become 6. Here minus 2 will be d1 and minus 3 will be d2. Hence we can write the above equation as x square minus 2x minus 3x plus 6 equals to 0. Now from the first two terms we can take common x and will leave x minus 2, and from the second two terms we can take common minus 3 and will leave x minus 2 again. Now from these two terms we can take common x minus 2. Hence we can write x minus 2 into x minus 3 equals to 0. So we can see there are two factors, one is x minus 2 and the other one is x minus 3. Now the expression x minus 2 into x minus 3 will become 0 if any one of the two factors x minus 2 and x minus 3 becomes 0. So after evaluating them, we can say that x equals to 2 or x equals to 3 can be the solution of the quadratic equation. Now let us solve this question. Solve root 2 x square plus 7x plus 5 root 2 equals to 0. So here a is equals to root 2, b is equals to 7 and c equals to 5 root 2. Now if we multiply a and c, then we will get 5 root 2 into root 2, that will give 10. Now we can break 7 as 5 and 2 so that the product of 5 and 2 will give AC. Hence the above equation can be written as root 2x square plus 5x plus 2x plus 5 root 2 equals to 0. Here we have broken 7x as 5x plus 2x. Now from the first two terms we can take common x, it will be root 2x plus 5 left, and then from the second two terms we can take root 2 common. Now as we know that 2 is equals to root 2 into root 2, so from the second two terms we can take root 2 common and it will give root 2x plus 5, and this is equals to 0. Now again we can take common root 2x plus 5, so it will give x plus root 2. So therefore the factors are root 2x plus 5 and x plus root 2. Now we will equate the factors equal to 0, and then we can get the solution of x as minus 5 by root 2 or x equals to minus root 2. Now in the first root we can write the denominator root 2 as root 2 into root 2 and we can multiply root 2 in the numerator. So it will become minus 5 by 2 into root 2. Now here we have another interesting question. We need to solve for x and we will solve it by using quadratic equation. Now you are thinking, where is the quadratic form? Now let's see. We can make it in quadratic form. Now we can write the first term as 3 to the power x into 3 square as a to the power m plus n equals to a to the power m into a to the power n. This is the laws of indices. Now the second term can be written as 1 by 3 to the power x, and we will bring the 10 in the left hand side. Now after simplifying the above equation, we can write 9 into 3 to the power x plus 1 by 3 to the power x minus 10 is equals to 0. Now we can multiply 3 to the power x in both the sides. Hence it will become 9 into 3 to the power x whole square plus 1 minus 10 into 3 to the power x equals to 0. Now let us assume 3 to the power x as y. Then the above equation can be written as 9y square minus 10y plus 1 equals to 0. Now the equation 9y square minus 10y plus 1 equals to 0 will become 9y square minus 9y minus y plus 1 equals to 0. Now from these first two terms we can take 9y common, and from the second two terms we will take minus 1 common. Hence we can write y minus 1 into 9y minus 1 equals to 0. Hence we can conclude y is equals to 1 or y is equals to 1 by 9. Now we need to find out the value of x. Now it is given that 3 to the power x equals to y. So we will replace y by 3 to the power x. Now we can write 3 to the power x equals to 0, 3 to the power 0, or from the second one we can write 3 to the power x equals to 1 by 3 square or 3 to the power minus 2. Now after comparing the powers we can write x equals to 0 or x equals to minus 2. Now let us solve this question. Solve this equation by completing the square method. You can solve this question by using factorization method also, but since I told you to show this method, I will solve this by this completing the square method. So for that I have squared it after squaring it will be 2x plus 9 equals to 13 minus x whole square. Now these whatever I have done now, this is not the part of the completing the square method. I have to make it a quadratic equation, so that is why I squared it. So not yet the completing the square method started. So now I am converting it into the quadratic equation. Now after squaring the right hand side we get this equation. Now after that I brought all the terms in the left hand side to the right hand side. Hence the equation will become x square minus 20x plus 160 equals to 0. Now I will apply the completing the square method. Now for that, from the x term, the term containing only x, from that we need to take out 2ax form. Let's see how to find out that. We can write the middle term as minus 2 into x into 14, and accept that other things I have written same. Now after writing the middle term as 2ax form, we need to add a square and subtract that a square also. Here a is 14, so therefore 14 square I have added and 14 square I have subtracted. Now in the above equation, the first three terms are in the form of x square minus 2ax plus this x square minus 2ax plus a square. So therefore we can write it x minus a whole square. And then we added 14 square with 160, minus 14 square with 160. So it will become minus 36. Now I will take that minus 36 to the right side. Now after this line we have done the square root in both the sides. So if I do the square root, so x minus 14 will become plus minus 6. And then I put this minus 14 to that side, it will become plus 14. Now after calculating plus and minus separately, we will get the solutions as 20 or 8. So students, that's all for today, and in my next video I will talk about the Sridharacharya formula. Thank you.